That afternoon, the Texas sun was a living thing heavy mean, pressing down like it wanted to smother the whole town. Heat shimmered off cracked sidewalks, kids kicked half-flat basketballs barefoot in dusty yards, and the air smelled like tar and fried catfish. I just parked my old Dodge Charger outside a corner store on Pine and Jefferson when I saw him, Officer Mark Reddick, leaning out of his cruiser shades, low jaw, tight, like he was already mad at me for something. I said, "Step out of the vehicle." He barked hand, hovering just close enough to his gun to make a point. I kept my hands where he could see them, slow and deliberate. "What's the problem?" "Officer, you're impersonating military. That uniform's not yours," he said, eyes sliding over my dark green combat jacket like it was a stolen trophy. I stepped out, boots hitting the pavement like a gavel, decisive, unapologetic. The name patch read Taylor Knox. The Army crest was faded but real. My back was straight, chin up, not a strand out of place under my cap. "My name is Taylor Knox. I just left the Veterans Memorial downtown." "You can confirm that with the precinct," I told him. Reddick smirked. "Don't give me that. I know a faker when I see one. Stolen valor doesn't fly in my district." The street got quiet. A couple of kids stopped their game to watch. An old man in a rocking chair leaned forward like he'd seen this play out before. "You got ID?" Reddick asked. "In my breast pocket," I said evenly. "I advise you let me retrieve it or call your supervisor. I won't escalate unless I have no choice." He gave a short, cruel laugh. "Let me save you the trouble." And then, without warning, he grabbed my collar and ripped. The sound of tearing fabric echoed down the block. Gasps broke out from the little crowd. My jacket hung open, my dog tag swinging. And just below my collarbone, pinned to my undershirt, was a badge. Not military federal. Reddick froze, eyes darting from the badge to my face. I didn't move, just stepped back and raised my arms slowly, not surrender, control. "You just assaulted a federal officer," I said, voice low but sharp enough to cut glass. "That's obstruction, unlawful use of force, and a violation of Title 18. What he started, but I was already moving. One twist, one step, and I had his wrist-locked arm wrenched behind his back. His knees hit the pavement. His partner, Officer Lane, flinched but didn't step in. She just watched. I spoke into my radio. "Deputy U.S. Marshal Taylor Knox, badge 47 Bravo. Active assault at Pine and Jefferson, suspect in custody. By the time the feds rolled up, Reddick was cuffed, face stained on the hot concrete, and the old man in the rocking chair was grinning like justice had finally come down his street." Back at the field office, my boss, Chief Robert Hale, was waiting. He didn't smile. "You tackled a cop in public, Knox. Cuffed him in front of civilians. You went live on half a dozen phones." "He tore my uniform," I said flatly. "That's assault on a federal officer. I know the statute," Hale shot back. "But you just lit a fire. Fire spread. I didn't blink. Then let it burn." What Hale didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been building a case on Reddick's whole precinct for 6 months. Every complaint, every lost report, every body cam that mysteriously malfunctioned. And that night, the fire got gasoline. Her name was Elena Brooks. Her brother died in police custody last year. She called me out of nowhere, voice shaking, said someone left a USB on her porch wrapped in a local newspaper. She'd been too scared to watch it until she saw the video of me arresting Reddick. I went to her place. On the drive, I checked every rear-view glance, 2 cars following for more than 3 turns. Inside, Elena handed me the drive like it was radioactive. "It's not just my brother's footage," she said. "There are dozens. One folder's labeled, 'Do not upload.'" I plugged it in off Wi-Fi on a clean laptop. The first file showed 2 officers standing over a man on the sidewalk, face pressed to the cement, crying. One of them looked straight at the dash cam and said, "You want the knee or the elbow?" They both laughed. I shut it off before Elena saw more. "There's enough here to bring down a department," I told her. The next morning, the U.S. Attorney's Office had the files. That afternoon, Officer Lane Reddick's partner walked into a federal hearing and admitted she'd stayed quiet out of fear, but she had her own stash of recordings. That's when the threat started. A photo of my mother's old house slid under my door, soon scrawled in red marker, a rock through my apartment window with a note. Your badge won't save you. They didn't know I wasn't using it to save me. I was using it to burn the whole thing down. Digging through Lane's notes, I found a phrase repeated over and over. Clean up Friday. Cross-referencing arrest logs, hospital reports, and missing footage, I realized every second Friday across multiple precincts, there was a spike in injuries and deaths. Mostly black residents never reported up the chain. And then came the VHS tape. My neighbor still had a player. We watched grainy footage from 2002, a black woman cuffed, kneeling, beaten by a baton, while a judge later refused to look at her. In the corner of the frame, the same precinct number as Reddick's. The woman was my Aunt Grace Knox. No one in the family ever told me why she left town. Now I knew. That night, I sent the VHS, the USB files, and my entire report to an independent journalist. By morning, an article titled Shadow Officers and Cleanup Fridays was everywhere. Monroe, the one captain I thought might have some backbone, called me in. He slid a drive across his desk. They moved Reddick's old crew under a task unit called Cerberus. It's federal now, but it's dirty. Real dirty. The files made me sick. Cerberus wasn't just rogue cops. It was an interagency program labeling entire black neighborhoods as zones of concern and deploying unmarked officers to manage escalation. Judges, school boards, even hospitals were in on it. 2 days later, I walked into court with 3 boxes of evidence. Judge Lawson, a name all over the Cerberus documents, resigned on the spot. Then came the call from Washington. Senate oversight wanted me to testify. Sitting at that table in D.C., cameras pointed right at me, I pulled out my aunt's old notebook. She'd been tracking patterns, badge numbers, and names long before I put on a uniform. She was killed 3 days after confronting one of these officers, I told them. The same department that called it an accident has now been tied to multiple cases of falsified evidence. What do you want from us? A senator asked. I want a federal task force to investigate every department using private contractors for civilian monitoring. I want qualified immunity suspended for anyone tied to Cerberus. I want justice not as a press release, but as a precedent. They clapped in that chamber, not everyone but enough. A week later, I stood at my aunt's grave. The headstone read, "Truth never dies." Some teenagers across the street called out, said they were starting a podcast at school. "We want you to be our first guest," one of them yelled. I laughed. "You don't even know what I'm going to say." "We want the truth," the boy said. I paused, looking at those kids' phones and hand eyes, unafraid. "Then let's get to work. So tell me, when someone rips off a uniform, are they uncovering a threat or a truth this country's been too scared to face? Because I've seen the answer up close. And I think it's time we stop pretending not to." What about you? Have you ever seen power cross the line, and did anyone fight back? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about what justice really looks like.